Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And it's the dance rank mission that we're going to be taking a look at. This is the rookie group. I have no idea who took this, and I'm still getting to know a lot of the members of these crews from Streetman Fighters, so I think this is going to be really fun. Like I've already said, this is just going to be the breakdown of everybody's individual choreographies, and I'm going to kind of take notes, and I'm going to personally rank them of who I would normally, like who I would pick or who I think could have possibly taken it or who they could have voted for. Some of the factors I'm going to be factoring in are the virality of it. Is it something that can be replicated on a social media platform? I know that's not, I don't believe that's a huge criteria of the other choreographers picking it, but it is a passive thing, especially because of the success of Street Woman Fighter Season 1's equivalence of this mission. So I'm going to factor that into some degree, but not the main indicator. I'm also going to look at its musicality. How captivating is it? Are there key points or key moments that really make this routine stand out or notable within the track? Please also know I am not fluent in Korean. I do know some, but not enough to be able to understand cultural wordplay if there is that in play here. So please extend grace to me if I do miss a piece of wordplay that a choreographer does choose to use in the track. That, you know, I'm gonna do the best I can here, and I'm just here to enjoy it, just like you guys. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. Ooh. Really enjoyable. Now before I get into that one, I just need to check, is he the only... Okay, so a cane is needed to be integrated into the choreography. Great, awesome. Now we're gonna take a look back here. We got to start from the beginning, popping off. I know this is B2B, it says gopu, right? I'm going off of the Korean pronunciation because it's right there, but I know it's golf, I think, right? So starting from the forefront, I think for these I'm going to go 0.75 because we're really looking at this content, and I think the slower we go, the more I can explain through some of their choices that they choose. Build up. I will say this very beginning here, if you notice, the song popped off with a heavier bass, but how he approached it was more of just a I'm showing you my choreo without really showing you my choreo. It's kind of the approach it looks and appears. I don't know if this is how he actually choreographs. I know with B2B, I've already watched so many of their battles, even some of their eliminations at this point, and just seeing their, you know, they have really large fullness whenever they do choose to do a rock and a. So this, I would assume, is more of a different genre than he may be used to affiliating himself with his movement. So I don't know if these are stylistic on purpose choices, or he's not 100% as confident with these choices, and so they're a bit marked down. So I like the choices that he's choosing. I think just my only note is that he's not matching the fullness of the song. I'm not gonna hack it up to the loudness that I'm getting it, because I do have it turned down. I really do think that's going to be the biggest indicator on whether or not this gets picked. Is, do people, you know, when they see past his way of doing it, is it taking that really chill approach, or is it full when it needs to be full when you're hitting that kind of part of the music, and then chilling out in certain moments? I'm not seeing the heartbeat of change between a lot of these grooves that he's hitting. I like the footwork he did a little bit earlier though. Yeah, a lot of this here, it just feels like it's supposed to build up, right? But it's not building, you know? It was the Gen Z equivalent. It's giving, not building, right? But I mean, that sounds very aggressive, but it is true. It's not. His movement is kind of chilling here. He's keeping it more internal with his choices, which can make it appear like he's not caring as much about it, which I know that's not the case. I feel like all of them really care. he grabs it. It doesn't feel as clear and concise. Now that I know that a component of this is the usage of a cane, because I saw multiple people use it, that's what I'm assuming, educated guess here. I feel like him just going and grabbing it, I feel like maybe wasn't the best choice. He could have, it felt like it was an opportunity he really could have utilized to figure out a different way to grab it outside of just, okay, I'm done with my build up, now I'm gonna walk over and get my cane. But his caneography was pretty dope though. Like, that's clear with the angles. So when you use a prop, you have to treat it like an extension of your body. So the lines that are made with your prop, especially a prop like a cane, you want to make it make sense with the particular angles that you're going for. And I think he set this up really nice. And he stabbed it. And then it bled. And then it kind of looks like an old man a little bit with the bleed out with that wave was so nice. I love this, that bleed and that melt body roll over. This whole little bit I think is phenomenal. I love it. It's chill. Yeah, but it does appear though that he's a bit, I mean, I went back just a little bit. Yeah, I feel like he's already kind of touched the ears a couple of times already. I wonder if he lost where the cane was. That bass, ding, 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 into the drop. And then he transferred it over the legs. Great usage of framing his body there. Melt. So he goes, he kind of creates a mini figure 8 to bring in that right leg. But I want us to focus on this right leg for a second here as he continues. I think he melts it similarly to what he just did. Yeah, so he did it again. But instead of doing like a figure 8 to use the leg, he just dropped it down to use the leg. So I think that's fine, but I wonder if, and because it's also your hook choreo too, people are able to get away with more repetition, especially if you're wanting to have it, what's the word, replicated, right? I like that, where he kicks it and then he aims and he drops. I really love these sequences. It feels very clean and crisp and cohesive here. I really just think it's unfortunate that the build up until this point was a little bit not up to the quality of execution or quality of investment of the appearance of the effort put in to what we're seeing here. Yeah, so boom, 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 and then he leans it out. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Do I think that may have been our winning choreo? I'm going to say it's pretty safe to say I don't believe so. Just because that beginning was so, it felt so filler. Like, we'll just fill something in here right now. It didn't feel cohesive. So I'm going to put B2B. They're going to be my middle, so they're my baseline right here. All right, our next one that we have is PRIMEKINGZ. Kyoyung Jr. Oh, I gotta make it normal so I can see it. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so now taking a look back on what we just watched, I do think his integration of the cane was a little bit more natural than what we saw from B2B's take. I like the setup where it's a nice little explosion. That was fun. With the claps, I do feel whenever, you know, and I know this is, a lot of people probably made some concessions. At least we're going to see this with some of the other choreographies. They may have oversimplified because they want it to be picked, but sometimes that can work against you because it's too easy. You have to find a middle ground between them. And so here I feel like some of these, with the claps, you know, just a small variation of something that you repeat 4 times can really make a difference and make it, extend yourself a little more grace whenever you are being critiqued by 7 other people who also want their choreographies picked. So we have to factor that in too. Remember, I just get to share my opinion. I get zero say in this because this has already happened, right? And I'm not on the show, nor am I a fight judge. I'm none of those things. I am a dancer and I am a choreographer, and so I understand the empathetic side of this, but I'm coming and approaching this from a very different lens than everybody else who's voting, because they're like, I want my choreo to be picked because I want my choreo to pop off and become viral, right? There's a level of pride in there, and I would want that same expectation for myself if I was in this position too. But also, if I'm not going to have my choreo picked, I want to pick the one that I can take that main dancer position from, you know? So it's all strategic here, right? And I know there's a lot of scripting that was happening too. So here, I do feel like some of his choices feel a little bit, they feel a little bit held back, or he's trying to hit a sound, but he's hitting it in a way that feels very restricted. Like that bass kick, like I knew he wanted to hit that bass, but normally people choose to kick the bass, but he chose to like create friction between his foot onto the ground, which I think is it's total preference, but I don't think that his sound justification after that really helped him with initiating and really fully using that bass that he tried to hit. Yeah, and a lot of the sequence that we're noticing here is not quite making sense with different parts of the music. It's not as clear where directionally he wants these movements to represent. And that can affect probably how this is viewed. I like the content, but it's not matching the music from a timing perspective, not really a musicality perspective, but it does factor in the musicality because the timing is off. That's one of the basic things. So I'm going to be honest, there's a good chance they may not pick it simply from the fact that he's not even staying on tempo, or maybe they will pick it because they think he's the easiest one. At this point, I've only seen one other, right? His may be like, I can take that from him. I don't know. Yeah, like that was another example. It was unclear when he started hitting that ding, 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 ding. Whereas with B2B, he was pretty clear, and he did use the cane at this point. I really loved that because it helped bridge the gaps between the two sections, but I already spoke about his. But here, it did feel like we had to pick it up. I like the slow because it matched that kind of, that it felt like a bass powering off, and it looked like he was powering off to grab his cane. I love the whistle. Great. No wordplay there because I know this. It's yeah, honestly, I'm a fan of the cane usage. I feel like we get to see variations of creativity with this challenge with these guys. This is fun. Yeah, so I like the uses of the glides, but it just goes back to, it feels like he's not having confidence behind the choices he's making, whether it's a timing thing, a layer choice, or if it's, you know, because you can tell there's not a lot of confidence here. He's kind of zoning. It's kind of a habit that a lot of dancers have, is they can like look down because they're just kind of going through the choreo. I do that a lot of times, and I see a lot of dancers do it. It's just a habit. Whenever you have adrenaline, it's one of the things you do. And especially when you're not 100% confident about what you're doing. And that's okay. Everyone experiences that. Here's the deal. I know the turnaround time on this was mad fast, so it makes sense that very rarely we're not going to get a lot of people that are like, I'm so confident in my choreo, you know? But some of them will be. I see what he was trying to do there, but because he just pulled it out and he kind of just let it go, I'm not quite sure where he wanted to take that. I don't know if he wanted to wrap it around. It just felt like there's a lot of choices that he's wanting to make, but they're a bit incomplete. Even there, he's kind of slid down the cane. It kind of felt about half executed, even if that was the intention, just that choreographic where he placed it. It just, you know, I feel like he could have done more, and I felt like he fell out of whatever intention he wanted to hit there. I don't know, but that's just, you know, remember, it's just my opinion. So do I feel like they may have picked this one? Possibly, because I don't think Kyoyung Jr. also had a lot of confidence doing this one himself. But I mean, that could be a good way for others to be like, I want to take the main dancer, and this is a great way to do it. I don't know, but yeah, I would say for this one, I would score PRIMEKINGZ choreo above B2B. because it was more seamless in the cohesion, and I could see what he was doing, but I would say it's not, I would say it's barely above what B2B brought, because B2B had a really cool caneography setup that really helped his. So I would honestly, I'd kind of put them hand in hand. They both have their pros and major cons of their pieces. So we're gonna go ahead, let's see our next dancer. Putting it back. This is ambitious. Okay. Fun. Okay, so going back, I really like, because for me, at a certain point, I was like, is he going to use a cane this time? And he did. I really like that. I felt like it definitely screamed more, there was more confidence behind the choices he was making. So that's number one. Let me also factor this in. I know PRIMEKINGZ and I know B2B are more freestyle battle crews, and I understand why they may have felt like this was more of a struggle for them. So I do understand this, and I do factor this in, and they got to shine in the battles. I do know that, but also remember, it's Street Man Fighter. It's about probably the best cohesion of your crew, which crew can do it all, right? And so they, you know, just like other crews get put in the fire for battles, they can get put in the fire for choreography, and vice versa. It really is that's just the name of the game. You know, it's really hard to find people who are really proficient at both. That's just, you know, once again, just my 2 cents there. So going back here, so how he built it up was really fun. I like his choices. I like that doo-doo-doo-doo and a nice powerful opener, and also it allowed the build up as well. For me, I've always mentioned this too, whenever you have a very beginning of a track. I know this sounds more like an excerpt than like the beginning of a viral TikTok trend. I know that. So for me, I mean, it is nice that they allow us a chance to hear the music so I can understand the tone of the track and then see where he wants to integrate himself. I find that's really fun because that's also a creative element of whenever people make when they choose to enter, because a lot of people, they choose on a syllable, some people choose on a clean 8 count, some people choose at the start of a phrase, at the end of a phrase, things like that. So we get to see some creativity in that aspect too. I like the usage of his range. I think it's he's doing pretty good so far. I really like it. Usage of the feet, complement of the hand there. That boom, da 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 da. Yeah, fun. Not overpowering the music. I will say we are seeing a lot of footwork that looks similar. This is different than what we just saw earlier. Yeah. But then look though, he turns and D, D, D. So he goes back to front. And then he does a side to side. So it does complement each other, but those individuals who may not be fans of footwork, that may be a turnoff for them. I don't know. But I like the polyrhythmic buildup of that. It's nice to include the hands to hit a different pocket or a different layer of the music when his lower body is still hitting that pattern. I love that. I like that. 1, 2. My only note for this is that it was a bit unclear when he chose to stop doing this groove with the leg into this next move. I think that's my one big note, is that wasn't as clear as it could have been. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, danta. And then here I know he goes to like hitting that part of the music. This just didn't feel like he was fully committing to it like he was in other aspects, and it did not look like it was out of preference. It could have been that way, but how it was reading was he wasn't going as full as he needed to in comparison to the context of what we just saw. Yeah, so he goes and he goes around. Normally we see a kick out of that, so it's interesting that he chose to roll and he grab. So that was fun that he chose to pick up the cane that way. Great surprise. I enjoyed that a lot. I will say his caneography so far, out of the ones I've seen, I really like B2B's choreo for this. I really do. Like, for the cane specifically. I really feel like at the end of the day, I may end up puzzle piecing my own version of this because I really liked BTOB's cane, but I don't think he was nearly strong enough in the other aspects to get picked. I think here his caneography is kind of making his routine suffer just a little bit. I like his choices, but his execution is not where it needs to be. How he's using and utilizing his cane, I like, but it's not, I mean, I love this groove that he chose, but remember the cane is still. It's creating a nice extension. He's very conscious of where it is. Boom, here. I love the usage out to the side. That move we have seen before. I've seen in other, seen BTS has done it. I've seen it in of a couple of BTS's tracks. They've done it. I've seen it in a couple of other choreographies recently, either in Street Woman Fighter or somewhere. So for me, I feel like whenever you choose to do grooves that become iconic in some way, like that footwork is really popular. I think this came out before BTS did it, so BTS maybe they didn't copy this, but I'm saying like this groove, it's been around for a while, so I've seen it before. Just like most of the grooves he's doing, we've seen. Most of the choreography we've seen, maybe just not in the sequence or in the variations that we're seeing. So I think that's a big key component here too, is that everybody here is perfectly capable of being here in their own right, especially Ambitious. They had to compete prior to even be on the show in their crew. So I feel like they kind of have a leg up when it comes to the competitive nature of the Mnet format, right, in comparison to a lot of the other crews, hence why I think they're going to make it pretty far despite their setbacks. But here, I think I like a lot of his groove choices with the cane, but I think the cane is not nearly as stable, or we're not able, like he's hitting the bass as well, but that da-da-da-da-da-da, I feel like he may be overpowering the intimacy of the whistle. Yeah, like ding 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 ding. He's just holding the cane. He's not doing anything with it as much, right? So I would say it's a pretty average caneography. I had really nice moments. I just don't think they were as captivating as they could be with the usage of the cane. That do 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 do. I see where he was going for there. I just don't think it was as clear in execution. But we also know too, yeah, right there too, there was an extra reverberation that happened on the cane, and normally you would want it to just stick. Those are the little details that I'm referencing, you know, but then it gets a lot better from that point. And I think a lot of people enjoyed the choreography here too. So honestly, this was way more well-rounded just in general, which I like. So I think this was a really good choreo. Definitely, it can be a potential contender for sure. So if I were to put it on my list here, I'm going to put it above PRIMEKINGZ and B2B because it has a fuller package. Do I think it's at the top? I don't know. Remember, I'm only 3 deep and I still got probably about 5. Can I count? 5? Yeah, 5 more. Goodness. Yeah, so I'll put him about right here. Not quite really mad difficult to beat, but definitely it would be a contender. All right, next one. All right, 1 million. Ooh, okay. Doing a lot of framing of his face, which is fun. Woo! Wow. Wow, okay, definitely more complex than what we've seen from everybody else, which could be a good thing, or it could also be the reason why his choreo may not get picked. That's the thing, it's all about your strategy, right? So here's the thing, this is cool. I would want to learn this choreo. Would I want to learn it at this competition? Maybe not, because would I be able to do it better than him, right? Because that's another thing too, is if you're trying to empathize with those who are voting in this, because this is different than the auditions, right? So I haven't even seen the auditions. I'm trying to go in order, which I'm very proud of myself for. But whenever you take note of who they're analyzing their equals, right? They're all equals, are all in the same class here. Maybe not equals in the choreographic sense, but they're all equals in the sense of like their ranking. So this whole thing, you're still factoring in, all right, do I want to learn this outside of my choreo that I would want picked? Would I want to learn this, and do I think I would actually be competitive to getting that main dancer spot? you know? Would I be able to beat him? Do I think, okay, so this is Root from 1 mil. Just noticing off the bat, you notice that he's a tad bit unstable in that bass hit that he chose to do. It would have been cool if he hit it, but also that's, you run a high risk when you run those kinds of things. Ready? So it goes. Yeah, so he wavered his weight over to the outside, which created an extra movement over to the side. I don't think he was factoring in because he wanted the focal point to be the leg as it was going around with the head. So he's doing a lot of handography framing of the face, a lot of tut influence here. Using a lot of, integrating a lot of potential wordplay that I'm assuming is happening with his hands, which makes him more intricate. So he's focusing more on the upper half. He's doing that approach way more and letting the lower half complement his upper half, which works to a certain extent, which is really nice. So he's still doing a lot, like I've already mentioned it. He's doing a lot of hand positions that help integrate the choreography that he wants to get. That buildup was cool, going from the leg to the shoulder all the way up. I enjoyed that. So I like the choices that he does. This was sweet. I love that ding, ding, ding. Now, I don't know if he wanted the cane to be parallel to the knee or if he wanted the cane to trigger the knee, because that he was trying to hit such a buildup. That's a risk. Because he's taking a lot of risks musicality-wise. But my big note I will say, though, is a lot of his movement hung out up here and he didn't explore around here as much. So his range appeared more limited. Even though that's not the case, we know he has range. It's not what I'm saying. His choreography we're looking at right now, it's showing a restriction of his choreographic intention to the chest and above. And it's very intricate. And that can really turn a lot of people off if that's not what they cater to. Like B2B is a more free range, mover, but we also know that what they brought to the table, he brought a more marked perspective. And a lot of it could stem from his choreographic background, or it could stem from he wasn't unsure about how to approach the genre, So that's just my overall note when he picks it up. Yeah, okay, so it looks like he wanted the cane to trigger the knee, but because of how fast that was it actually hitting a part of the music? Okay, so it looks like he wanted the knee to go with the head, so it could be ding, 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 ding. Okay. Yeah, so it goes bring it around. Say. Now this part here, I will say I like his choices. I wish he did not approach it in the dynamic choice he did, because whenever he brought around boom, jing, boom, like how he goes from a large movement to a chill movement, I feel it has this extra sticky staccato essence about it that makes it feel that the song does not carry. So his tension that he's bringing through his grooves, the song is not carrying, which can make it feel a little bit stickier in the transitions of his moves. Now, that could be preference. It's preference. Remember that. For me, I study music. I study music cognition. And so I've tried my best to figure out the best emotion to music compatibility. So, and that helps me be able to understand genre choices to music a lot better too. It helps me understand choreography better so I can do these more effectively. So for me, that's the lens I'm coming from, is from okay, whenever I hear these particular sounds in a sound envelope that we just heard, what is he trying to infiltrate? Is this just a preference of his own movement quality, or is he really trying to hit a part of the layer of the music that maybe I'm not hearing? I'm not sure, right? But I like how chill it is. Yeah, so I think it was nice to kind of have that throw, which was really fun. But even there, I know he was trying to hit that. There's like a build-up. But even that right there is still not the forefront of the layers that are being presented. Now, I'm not saying that you have to eliminate your effort in the other layers, but he's doing a lot. That makes sense. It's this part. Oh, there's like a whole little sound in the back that he's going around. Okay, I understand the musicality. He's making, like I've already said, this really high risk musicality choices, which may have worked against him here. I love it. I love that. Do-do-do. Now, I guess because it was very clear what I heard musicality-wise. It was unclear here. He did a da-da-da, like a quick ball change, which was really nice. But notice he used his footwork the second time we heard that da-da-da again. So it kind of feels like he could have explored a different musicality choice to still hit that layer, but maybe not use the legs both times. Look, da-da-da. So instead of doing a pas de bourrée, he did a kick, like a kick, not a kick scuff, but this was fun. I really love this. I really love that little sequence. You know, kick step touch. So it was more of a kick than a pas de bourrée. So, but it looks very similar. So it really does look like he hit it the same, but I know he didn't. That little doo-doo, that was fun. So honestly, I would say this one's mad cool. I think this one is a huge contender, I would think, but the risk is, would I choose this? No, because I don't know if I could do it better than him. Remember, it's all strategy. So I would pick, so One Mil, I think, if we're looking at it from a strict choreographic sense, I really like One Mil's. They're at the top right now for me. I really like that. If I'm looking at it from the competitor sense, I would not pick this one. For the reasons I already stated. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead. Let's go ahead and watch the next one. YGX, here we go. Okay. Woo! Okay, I really like that one. So what's interesting is what YGX brings to the table is they still hit the music, make musicality risks, but they don't make it so overly complex. So I think YGX's is more competitive, even though it brings a similar level of intensity that 1 Million brought. So taking a look here, I love how we started. Love it. Ding, 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 ding. I love a good head to start. It's wonderful. Yeah, so I just bring it around. So he's hitting the tone of the track, which is really nice. So you are able to see subtle dynamic shifts of what he's bringing to the table. I think part of it just looks like content, but also how he's choosing to bleed through the content is what makes it work. So I really do like these sequences a lot. I like how he went to both sides, boom, hit, because that's one of the first times we're seeing him go on both sides. But the third, 2, 3, and then he bled it into another move, so that was really nice, kind of how he built it. And the reverb there was nice too. And you notice how he allowed his body to go. Da-da. So there's kind of that kind of echoey after effect of da-da, right? That he hits with his chest. And then he makes it, then he holds it in order to hit the chest bop towards the inside. I think, does he end up doing like 2? Yeah, so it goes. Okay. So there, notice, I feel like some of his movements could have been more refined. I gotta slow it down even more just so I can see what angle. I think he was trying to create this shape at some point and then wave it through. Yeah, now I have it at 0.5. 1 and 2, and yeah, 1 and 2. That right there, that just felt like, it felt a bit unnecessary to add that little dynamic in there. I know he was trying to hit a part of the music there. I don't think it helped that section, because when you do tut at a fast speed, you have to think clear. You have to have clarity behind what you're doing. I just don't think that was as clear as it could have been executed. This was smooth. That's smooth with the cane. That was nice. They would boom, did as he hit out. Yeah. And then he just kind of switched it. That was really fun. I will say that was a bit repeated, right? So I think we already kind of drug the hand up. He already kind of drug it the first time. So now you can't do it again. Does that make sense? So whenever you're doing caneography, especially in the course, you have to, which I think placement of where they're putting the caneography, I don't know if that was a rule or not. I really like the fact that they're making the caneography at the course and not in the verse. I think that's great. It just makes sense to me. With this, whenever you're doing caneography though, it's you're looking at what are components of using the cane that look different. And something you want to avoid is, ooh, I've seen this already within 2 8 counts, right? So there's a chance that his just may not be as complex as maybe they wanted, because there is a difference between simple is effective, but also you don't want to make it too simple when you're using a prop, because the part of the wow factor is doing things with your prop that are innovative, or ways you're like, oh, I didn't think that you could use your cane like that, you know, not in a ooh, but in like a ooh way. So I like the fact that he chose to have there's complementary movements happening with the legs and the hands, you know, but he had this little reverberation, and then he's doing this ticking, but the ticking is not super clear because he's not refined by his lines, which could take away from his caneography. Yeah, that do over. Yeah, so I just think that last little bit, I know what he was trying to hit, and I like the fact that he was trying to make those choices. Do I think it was the cleanest execution? I don't. I mean, if we take a look back here, it's just not, he's grabbing, I love the choice to grab it, but because it was just grabbing the cane and the cane wasn't at a particular solid angle that made it really crisp, that affects these types of things. That little flip around, it did look a bit incomplete. Hold on. That flip around, and he ends the way that he kind of started, which was really nice. Okay, if I were to rank that one compared to what I've already seen, I would put it probably in line close to ambitious. Yeah, so I would put it around there. I would put them very close, neck and neck there. Maybe above, maybe below. If I looked at them side by side, I think it would be a little different. But that would be kind of the tier. But I think 1 million would I still appreciate 1 mil's choreo the most. But I can also see why they could have picked YGX's, because his, I think, would have been easier to replicate than 1 mil's. But I think they approached it and attacked it. I just think YGX, his cane work was a little bit lackluster in comparison to his previous. He had the opposite problem as B2B, I think, is my point. Now we're going to take a look at Just Jerk Minseo. He's using the cane right now. Woo! He used the cane the whole freaking time. That was nice. Okay, so I know there's probably others because I'm just looking here all day. He may have used it the whole time. But, okay, I think if you're looking for one that matches the vibe of the track, I really liked his approach here. It wasn't overkill. He built it well. There wasn't a ton of cane work that he did that was overly repetitive. And then we go, oh, I've seen that already. Yeah, so it's a da-da-da. So he's switching. He's using his body as leverage on the cane, which is really helpful. I will say the only note is because it's hanging out on that left hip for as long as it is, it does get a bit limiting on what you can do by keeping it there. But I like how he tried to crawl it. Did it look as complete? I think one hand met before the other one did, but I really liked it. Yeah, I think because we're still there, you know, and we're already a couple seconds in, and it's still hanging out in the same spot. That would be my one note too, is that maybe explore the other leg because it's down. As it comes back, perfect opportunity to switch it to a different spot. You know what I mean? Yeah, especially if the next move is gonna be picking it up and dropping it, he could have switched the leg and it would have made it different. You know, that's just my one note here too. I like it as da-da, da-da, and the build-up, and he grabbed it. It's nice. Now, does it feel like we're neglecting some of the backbeats because of the sake of doing the cane? Yes, so that could work against him here because he's not utilizing the musicality as effectively as he could, but I really like the fact that he is using his cane as much as he is too. But another note too, if I was watching this, I could be like, is he gonna make me dance with the cane the whole time? Like if let's say we do his choreo and he wins main dancer, am I gonna have to do the cane the whole time? That can be a bit, you know, it's a lot to factor in a prop with a turnaround time like this. It really is. So I kind of think it's interesting how they have this prop challenge here, because I don't think in the Street Woman and any of the dance ranks I noticed they had a prop that they had to integrate, to my knowledge. But yeah, and he kicked it around. I think this was a nice little do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I really liked that. I think it would have been more impactful if he showed more complexity of content prior, but complexity not in the difficulty, but complexity in the density. So there's a difference there. So I'm speaking about, because I had already talked about with the cane work, you limit or you have to sacrifice other components for the sake of keeping the cane work clean. That's the same thing with heels. When you do heels, very rarely you're going to find people that are able to do really high difficulty grooves and pockets with heels. They have to kind of sacrifice a lot of things that require a ton of weight shifts, right? For this, anything that requires a huge wide range of movement, when you're trying to balance or always factor in an extension of yourself that you're not used to, you end up sacrificing a lot of other options for the sake of keeping that clean. I think he did what he needed to do. If he was going to use the cane the whole time, I get that. But this move right here, I really like it. Do I think that it could have looked more impactful if he built it up more complexly? Because if you think about it, he already had the cane horizontal for the course of this build-up. You know, even though he was doing different dynamics, it was still horizontal. So see if it was coming from a different angle into that, it could read a little different too. That's the thing. That's the power. It's the power of preference, the power of perspective, and the power of what are you looking for individually, empathizing with types of choreography. Do I think this is a contender? I do. I really do. I think that it's going to be very replicable for people, and I think people can feel that they can replicate it. But also, because the cane, you run the higher risk, his also may not get chosen for the same reason, because he used the cane the whole time, and people may be like, I don't want to have to use the cane unless I have to. You know, it just kind of depends. I like that right there. Yeah, which is fun. I like how he picked it up, the kick. There's a lot of people are using similar choices in their cane usage. I get it, because I would probably make similar choices too, because you can only do so much with the cane. At least that's the kind of difficulty you run into whenever everyone's dancing to the same song. There's certain beat patterns you want to hit. There's certain moves that work better than other moves, and that's why you're going to see that kind of similarity between some of these choreos. I like that boom, and then he replaced it. That was fun. I like how he finished it, and he just finished it and tapped it in the back. I think that was a really fun contender. I think this one, if we're just looking at the choreographic intention of it, I would put it on par. I'd put it next to 1 Mills, because even though I feel like 1 Mil and Just Jerks would run into the same problem on whether or not they got picked. 1 Mills would be because it's too difficult. Just Jerks would be because there's so much of a usage of a cane. But also 1 Million really integrated a lot of musicality pockets that were really fun and made me want to learn it, which is, you want to have a desirability to want to learn something too. So that's a factor. But with Just Jerks, he provided really nice pockets of opportunity for them to be able to kind of dance how they wanted to dance. And I would say, because it was all caneography, all of it was strong, right? Like there wasn't any part of it that I was like, this sucks. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that about any of these, honestly, but I do think that his was pretty competitive in that nature, but it does go down to preference. I don't know if there was drama with this one or not. I know there was drama with some other ones, but for this one, can't remember if there was, but anyway, I did like that one. So I would say competitiveness, this one's pretty on par with some of the other ones. Okay, this is Otte. This is E.Jo. E.Jo is what it looks like. He's also using the cane too. I like the rebounding choices he did. It's just not as stable with the cane. Wow! Okay. Okay, so he chose the opposite approach where he dropped the cane. So he dropped the cane after, so he took the opposite, which honestly looked really nice here. Because normally everybody else is going the opposite way, so it could stand out in that way. However, whenever you think about if you're looking for hook choreo, you want to have something that really makes the hook choreography stand out from the rest of it. That made it flip-flopped, where I think the build-up, because of the uses of the cane, made it look more impactful than the chorus. So that's really the only downside to that, of what we're seeing here. And that's why most choreographers are going to opt to put in their prop usage that they have to do, or like their most captivating thing about what they're bringing to the table. They're going to put that where it matters most, which most of the time it's that chorus, because it's the rhythmically, when you think about when songs are made, the chorus is typically what we remember more so than the verses. That's just, at least in my, I feel that to be the case. So here, I think that could work against him here. That doo-doo-doo. So he's hitting these. I would say this feels like a simpler version of what we saw from Just Jerk just now. But I would say the thing to note, he's very stable with his choices here, but also he's unclear with some of the angles he wants to represent. He's choosing really great dynamics, like the rebound. And I like the kick around, that was nice, but also note that it's taking an extra millisecond or so for that cane to land where they want it to land, and that can factor into your cleanliness. That was nice how he went the opposite way, that was really fun. Rebound. Yeah. Da-da-da-da. And also the cane is still not stable. He just had to move it over to the side. And it's very simple transition as well. There's a chance that this may feel too simplistic, right? I would say with Just Jerk, his was simpler than, let's say, 1Mil's or maybe Ambitious or YGX's bring up to the choreo, because he had to use the cane the whole time, or he chose to use the cane the whole time, but he made it work, and he provided really simplistic moments, but also more complex in the angles and his choices that he made too. So, but here, I feel like he's taking the very linear textbook kind of execution of some of the grooves when using the cane as well. How he had it was very stable, and I know a lot of them liked that choice he made. That was cool. But also, it was strong and dynamic, but was it strong and like memorable? Like the position of how the cane finished, was it memorable? It just feels like other variations of what he's already done, and then he dropped it. Now, that didn't feel as intentional. It made me realize, okay, it wasn't an accident, it was on purpose, but it took me a couple movements to understand that. Normally, when you either choose to pick up or put it down, it needs to look like, that was no issue at all, right? Like if he swung it down, it felt more intentional, but it was more, you don't allow the free fall to happen. Because here's what happens too, when you think about working on set, what you should think about when you work with dancers, or when you work with dancers for camera, or when you work with dancers with the prop and they just let it go, you run the risk, you're always going to run this risk regardless. They probably will whenever they ended up filming this, because I'm assuming the canes were used there. You have to factor in injury potential, because when you think about where this cane is, it is right and really close to where his feet are. He didn't throw it. It didn't just disappear. It's still very heavily in the range in which he's dancing. in his ball change. Any of these moves that he's doing right now, that right there, do you see how close his foot is to this cane? All that right there. And he's gonna jump and do a ball change, and I know that he's framing the cane and it worked in this case, but that's not gonna happen. You're gonna get injuries if you're not factoring in where you're choosing to place that cane down. Because remember, if your choreo ends up getting chosen and you get chosen as main dancer and you get to keep the choreo, having that cane just hang out there when you have 7 other canes that are hanging out there just like that, someone's gonna trip over it. I'm just gonna tell you, regardless of how professional you are, I have sprained my ankle, I have fallen on my face, I've had dancers fall on their faces on flat surfaces. Can you imagine when you have a prop that it's unclear where it's gonna land every time, and it's gonna affect your formation, it's gonna affect your cleanliness, your range, the spacing of your dancers, for the sake of making sure that no one is stepping on the cane that either you dropped or they dropped. So that's my really big note of thinking when you think past the choreography and you think past, okay, what happens if it gets chosen? Because that's another factor too. What if it gets chosen? How replicable is it going to be with all the other dancers? How well and cohesive is this going to look with everybody doing it, with the turnaround time? There's so many factors you have to look into with all of this. So I think that's my really big note. I call it a safety note. You know, when he kicks it and brings it around, a lot of his movement too, just because now I'm done talking about the cane, going back to his movement without the cane. You know, I like that he's hitting it, but also it's staying very midline. He's not exploring super low. He's not really going high. His chest is kind of hanging out where it is. The rock is not really going anywhere. It's kind of hanging out pretty neutral, which can make it appear more elementary. And a lot of his movements in his hands and his legs were not as clear as they could be. So that's a pretty, you know, I think that's my big overall note with him from this particular choreo. But I think there's not a single choreo where I'm like, that was not it. Like, everybody had some components in it that made it very enjoyable, you know? So now by ranking that, I would probably put it near PRIMEKINGZ and B2B, because of some of the factors. It was a bit simplistic in ways that made it to where it just felt like the simpler version of what Just Jerk brought. I think it was Minseo, right? Which both are totally fine, but when you think about it, I also think there was a safety hazard with his potential safety hazard that you would deal with. Yeah, so that's kind of my overall note. But remember, it's just my preference. So if he gets picked, awesome, cool, and I bet the video is great. But out of all the ones, I personally wouldn't pick that one, because I would be thinking I am gonna hurt myself by having to just drop it. So now we're moving on. It looks like it's WEDEMBOYZ, Kamel. Wow! Yeah, this is cool. Wow, I really like that one. Okay, so let's take a little look here. What did it say? Swing? What did it say? Swing? So, I don't know what he actually says there. It does kind of say swing, or it sounds like swing. That was really cool. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. Going back. He chose to use the cane the whole time. That was fun. But I want you to take note that he is very stable in all of his choices. There's very rarely is there a position where it looks like it bobbled. Everywhere had a position. When he chose to move the cane, it went with something complementary. So every choice that he made sense. And I think that's a really big indicator that I really like about this. I like the usage of the hat too. I think that was fun, where you get to show a little bit of persona. Yeah. Da 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 da. Some of his choices too, he's allowing He's allowing the cane, he's taking risk of letting it go to do stuff that is still tasteful and justified in its own right, and then catching it. I really like these choices. This makes me want to learn it. And then I love the imagery of just using it to play guitar. Yeah, so just having, I think my only, I'm trying to think, just my only note. Yeah, now, like it really, it matched the music really well there. With a kick, da da da, moolah, boom, 3, 4. Like once he hits the bass, that was a really fun, where allowing it to fall, and then he caught it on the in-between. So it wasn't taking away. So like the catch wasn't on the bass, where it's a higher risk. It's a boom, and then he catches. I think that's fun because we're not focused on that catch as much as we would be if he was hitting a bass. Yeah. That was interesting, and I know that was repeated. So because he showed not complexity, because he showed diverse interpretations of his grooves through the cane work, it made the simplicity look more intentional and not a placeholder, and I really love that. That little kick, I mean, it would be cool to see that dynamic of whenever he kicked, it was a little bit tucked in a little bit more, but I mean, it's just preference. He just swung it, he caught it. And he swung the bass like it was a freaking golf ball. I love this visual. Definitely this screams key point choreo right here. And he takes it. And then he drops it down. And he takes it, boom, with the bass. So you still have the whistle initiated. And it also has a component that we saw that I really liked from other people's choreo. So it kind of feels like he's integrating some of the best elements of the other choreos we saw and put it in this. So it's super fun. That super fun. With the different grooves, super fun. Now that does look a little bit similar to what we just saw. Swing. With the yeah, there's just really tiny minor transitional things, but I think it just comes from, I even think Bada had it, Latrice had it, everybody whose choreo got picked that I saw in the choreo selections, they all had these micro transitional issues that just weren't solidified. And normally those become solidified when you teach it to other people. So that's just an interesting little tidbit from personal experience. So I think like some of these little micro transitions, I think, could be refined if this did get chosen. This was freaking sweet. And then he kicked it, brought it around with a nice little groove. Boom, da da doon chin. And he finished it out to the top. That was awesome. That's definitely the top one for me based on what I saw. WEDEMBOYZ 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Oh, that was the last one. Okay, so I also have a feeling there's a good chance that the last video shown, because that was the trend with Smoke and with Click Like, there's a really good chance that the last one is the one that was picked. I'm just gonna, that's my educated guess, I'm gonna go with it because I would 100% pick that. It's desirable to learn. It's the grooves make it feel like I can showcase myself in these groove pockets, but also the cane work would just look so freaking cool on camera. I think it would be really, because you're dealing with the cane, you gotta go for it with the cane, but you also don't want to overkill it with the cane and do things that are impossible. But some of these things that he did ran a high risk and he paid it off here. So that's another indicator too. If you are seeing choreo for the first time and the person doing it nails it, it gives you hope that you yourself can do it. But if the person doing the choreo with the cane also can't replicate it, part of you's like, oh, I can replicate that 100%, but we don't know how much cane or prop experience these guys have with this particular type of prop. But also you have to factor in, okay, if he doesn't have the confidence, or if I pick his choreo and he's not even able to do it very well, can he teach me how to do it? That's another thing too. So I really love the fact that he nailed everything, and I believe he's the one that was selected because he went last, and I thought that was the full package for it. I love the hat. I love how they responded, because you see them of course respond a little bit. That was mad cool. I really like that. So that's gonna be my guess. I think if they chose this one, which I will see later, which one they ended up choosing. This one was sick. Loved it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way. I love watching everybody's choreographic perspective on a challenge. It's so fun because you get to learn so much more about the individual, and you get to see kind of their choices or influences based on their training, because some people, the music they pick, they have to dance to is out of their wheelhouse of what they're comfortable with, so we get to see them grow in this process. But others, we get to see what makes them shine. We get to see some people truly shine with some really cool moments. And so I think this was super cool. This was awesome. I definitely can't wait to watch the rest of these. But yeah, I will catch y'all on the flip side. Bye.